I wired the money from a 7-Eleven in Cebu. She said her name had to be on the title or the government would seize it. She promised it was our future. She even drew a little sketch of the house we'd build. But the land never existed. Not on paper. Not in her name. Not even in this world. I'm sitting here in my apartment back in Salem, Oregon, staring at that napkin sketch I kept. It's wrinkled now, coffee-stained, but I can still see the bamboo house she drew with her careful fingers. This will be ours. Kuya Ron, she whispered that day at the seaside carinderia in Panglao. The waves were gentle. The sun was setting behind her dark hair, and I believed every word that came from her lips. Once it's in my name we can build, she said, her voice soft like a prayer. I felt something I hadn't felt in 20 years. Like I finally found my place, and my person. My name is Ronald. I'm 57, and I drove trucks for 33 years across this country. Highways from Seattle to Miami, truck stops that all looked the same, gas station coffee that tasted like burned hope. I saved every dollar I could, living in that cab more than any real home. My ex-wife got the house in the divorce. My son barely calls. After all those years of empty roads and empty beds, I sold everything and moved to the Philippines. I wanted warmth. I wanted peace. I wanted to build something with my own hands. Maybe find someone who'd care if I came home at night. Are you a writer? She asked me the first day we met at that cafe in Cebu City. I had just landed, still jet-lagged, still wondering if I'd made the biggest mistake of my life. I was wearing my reading glasses, looking at a guidebook like the lost American I was. No, just trying to figure out this place, I told her. She smiled. Not the kind of smile I was used to from women my age back home. This was different. Genuine. I'm Cheska, she said, sitting down without asking. And you look like you need a friend. That broke something open in me I didn't know was still locked. We started meeting every few days. She'd show me local places, teach me Tagalog words I'd forget by the next morning. She never asked for money, never hinted at it. She just listened when I talked about the loneliness, the divorce, the years of sleeping in truck cabs, while other drivers called home to families I never had. God brought you here, Kuya Ron, she'd say, using that word that made me feel like I belonged to something. I know it. I was surprised someone 29 years old would care about a man like me. Gray beard, hands rough from years of gripping steering wheels, back bent from too many hours on the road. But she made me feel seen, really seen. Not just tolerated or pitied. She'd touch my arm when she laughed at my stories. She'd save me the last piece of lumpia when we shared meals. Small things. Things that felt huge when you'd been alone as long as I had. The land is complicated, she told me one afternoon, about 3 weeks after we started spending time together. We were walking along the beach in Panglao, and she looked worried. Really worried. Not the fake kind of worry I'd learned to recognize from my ex-wife when she wanted something. This felt different. My father died without proper papers, she explained, stopping to pick up a shell. The land has been in our family for generations, but now the government says we need official titles, or they might seize it. I watched her face as she talked. The way her eyebrows pulled together, the way she bit her lower lip. My uncle found a lawyer who can help, but the process. She shook her head. It's expensive, and if we don't act soon, we could lose everything. She wasn't looking at me when she said it. She was staring out at the water like she was watching her future drift away with the tide. That's when I made my first mistake. How much? I asked. She turned to me, eyes wide. Oh no, Kuya Ron, I'm not asking you for help. I would never. But I could see the weight she was carrying. The fear. I want to help, I said, and I meant it. Helping her felt like helping us, like building something together. Only if you feel it's right, she finally whispered, and when I nodded, she cried. I sent $1,200 that first time. At the Western Union counter, my hands shook a little, but it felt good. It felt like love, like partnership. She promised weekly updates about the lawyer, the paperwork, the process. For the first time since I'd arrived in this country, I felt useful. Not just some old American with a pension. I was part of something real. I used to play here when I was little, Cheska said a week later as we stood on the patch of land near her aunt's house. It was overgrown with weeds and banana trees, but I could see the potential. The way the morning light filtered through the leaves, the sound of roosters in the distance, the peace. Someday we'll clear this, she said, taking my hand. Plant vegetables, maybe some fruit trees. Build our little house right there. She pointed to a flat area near a big mango tree. That's where she kissed me for the first time. Under that tree, with the smell of earth and growing things around us, I imagined waking up next to her every morning, drinking coffee on a small porch, watching the sun come up over land that was ours, land we'd chosen together. When do you think the paperwork will be ready? I asked later that evening. She got quiet, the kind of quiet that makes you wish you hadn't asked. I don't want to think about stress right now, Kuya, she said softly. This is about trust, about us. So I dropped it. I wanted peace more than I wanted answers. That night, she got a phone call from her cousin. I couldn't understand all the rapid Tagalog, but I heard her voice getting higher, more worried. When she hung up, she was crying, real tears. They want to sell our portion to developers, she said between sobs. If we don't get the title transferred soon, we'll lose it forever. I held her until she stopped shaking. What do we need to do? I asked. She looked up at me with those dark eyes that had become my whole world. The lawyer needs more money, a lot more, 450,000 pesos, about $8,000, everything I had left in my savings account back home. It's too much, she said, shaking her head. I can't ask you for that. But she didn't have to ask. But I could see the fear in her face, the desperation. This wasn't just about land anymore. This was about proving that what we had was real, that I was the kind of man who showed up when it mattered. I made the transfer from a remittance center in downtown Cebu. The clerk counted out the bills twice, asked me to confirm the amount 3 times. $8,000, everything I had saved for my new life. Are you sure about this, sir? The young man asked. I looked at Cheska standing beside me, her hand warm in mine. I'm sure, I said. When the transaction went through, she hugged me so tight I could barely breathe. I love you more than the land, she whispered in my ear, and I believed her. God help me, I believed every word. But something changed after that day. The texts became shorter, less frequent. Phone calls that used to happen every morning started skipping days. Sorry, Kuya, been so busy at the barangay office, she'd say when I finally reached her. Signal is bad here too. I tried not to worry. People get busy. Paperwork takes time. But nights became longer, lonelier. I'd stare at my phone waiting for her good morning message that came later and later each day. 2 weeks of silence. Then 3. I couldn't take it anymore. I caught a bus from Cebu to Tagbilaran, showed up at her aunt's house like some desperate old fool. Cheska? She went to Cebu last week, the aunt said, not meeting my eyes. Some business there. She didn't say when she'd be back. My stomach dropped. We'd just been texting 3 days ago. She'd said she was home, working on the land papers. I walked to the barangay hall, like a man walking to his own execution. The captain was a friendly older guy who spoke good English. Cheska, he said when I described her. As in Francesca, I know that family. But we don't have a secretary by that name. Never have. He was looking at me with the kind of pity reserved for fools and foreigners. Are you sure you have the right barangay? But I was sure. I'd been there with her, seen her wave at the people she claimed to work with. That night in my pension house room, I stared at the napkin sketch until my eyes burned. I texted her. Are you okay? People say they don't know you at the barangay. Delivered. Read. No reply. I called. Straight to voicemail. I called again. Same thing. The silence was louder than any scream. I hired a fixer the next morning. Jerome, a local guy who knew how to navigate government offices. Check the land title records. I told him. Family name, exact location, everything. I gave him the coordinates Cheska had shown me, the description she'd given, her father's name, everything. Jerome came back 3 hours later with the look of a man delivering bad news. No title under that family name, sir. No pending applications either. And that land you described? It's owned by a mining company. Has been for 15 years. I read his report sitting in the same cafe where I'd first met her. The words blurred together. No title. No family claim. No process. No lawyer. I stumbled to the bathroom and threw up everything I'd eaten that day. Then I sat on the dirty floor and cried like I hadn't cried since my father's funeral. I wasn't scammed. I kept telling myself, we just failed. Something went wrong. This isn't what it looks like. I messaged her one last time. Did you lie to me? The check marks turned blue immediately. She'd seen it. She was online. But no reply came. Not that day, not the next, not ever. I stared at my phone screen until the battery died. Then I plugged it in and stared some more, waiting for words that would make sense of this. An explanation, an apology, anything. 3 days later, I found it. Not an explanation. Something worse. On her Facebook profile, which I'd never unfollowed, never blocked, never stopped hoping to see updates from. A new post. A photo of her in a dress I'd never seen, holding an iced coffee, smiling that smile I used to think was just for me. Gcash giveaway. 4 lucky winners get 2,000 pesos each. Just share and tag friends. The post had dozens of comments, hearts, congratulations, people celebrating her generosity. I stared at that photo for an hour. That dress probably cost more than I spent on food in a week. That coffee shop looked expensive. That smile looked like victory. My money, my savings, my future, turned into likes and shares and digital hearts from strangers. I started deleting everything then. Photos of us together, screenshots of her messages, even the napkin sketch. But I stopped at one voice message she'd sent me weeks ago. I love you, Kuya. Please believe me. We're going to build something beautiful together. I played it once. Her voice sounded so real, so sincere, so full of love. Then I deleted it too, because keeping it would have killed me, and I'd already died enough. My visa ran out a week later. I packed my single suitcase with clothes that smelled like tropical air and broken dreams. At the airport, I bought a coffee that cost more than a full meal at the carinderia where she'd drawn our house. The barista was young, maybe Cheska's age, and when she smiled at me, I had to look away. I couldn't trust smiles anymore. Couldn't trust kindness. Couldn't trust my own judgment about what was real. The flight back to Oregon was 17 hours of thinking, not sleeping, not watching movies, just sitting there replaying every conversation, every kiss, every promise, looking for the signs I'd missed, the red flags I'd ignored, the moments when she told me the truth without saying it directly. But maybe I'd seen them all along. Maybe I'd just wanted to believe so badly that I'd made her lies feel true. Back in Salem, I slept on my friend Dave's couch for 2 months. He never asked what happened in the Philippines, just handed me coffee every morning and let me exist in his space while I figured out how to be human again. I couldn't bring myself to explain. How do you tell someone you gave $8,000 to a woman you'd known for 6 weeks? How do you admit you fell in love with a story that was never real? I started writing this down in a notebook first, trying to make sense of it, trying to understand how a man who'd driven millions of miles, who'd navigated through every kind of weather and road condition, could get so completely lost. The words came slowly, painfully, like pulling shards of glass from a wound. But they came. Maybe she loved me a little, I wrote one night. Maybe I wanted it too much. I don't blame her anymore. Not really. She saw an opportunity and took it. An old American with money and loneliness, looking for someone to save. Looking for someone to save him. We both got what we were looking for, in a way. She got my money. I got a lesson in the difference between love and need. I don't dream about the house anymore. Well, that's not true. Sometimes I still wake up thinking I can smell those banana trees. Sometimes I hear roosters crowing, and for a split second, I forget where I am. But when I fully wake up, I make coffee without bitterness. I've started reading books instead of watching TV. I've been learning to cook something other than truck stop food. Small steps toward becoming someone I can live with. I got a job at a local hardware store. Nothing fancy, just helping people figure out what they need to build or fix things. It's ironic, I guess. Still helping people build. But these are real projects. Deck repairs, garden sheds, kitchen renovations, things you can see and touch and know they exist. The customers pay with cash or credit cards, not with hope. I won't build another home for someone else. I tell myself on the days when loneliness creeps back in. When I see couples holding hands at the grocery store. When I remember what it felt like to have someone text me good morning every day. But I'm slowly rebuilding something for myself. Something that doesn't depend on another person's love or lies or promises. The other day, A young woman came into the hardware store looking for materials to build a chicken coop. She was about Cheska's age, with the same kind of smile that used to make my heart race. She needed help calculating how much lumber to buy. How many screws? What kind of wire mesh? I helped her figure it all out, wrote down the measurements on a piece of paper, and watched her drive away in her pickup truck to build something real. That's when I realized I wasn't angry anymore. Not at Cheska, not at myself, not at the dream that never existed. I was just tired of carrying the weight of what could have been. Some stories don't have happy endings. Some love isn't real. Some houses never get built. But that doesn't mean you stop living. It just means you learn to build different things. This time, I'm the land, and no one else gets the title.